Okay, so today we will be talking about the same thing, solubility and the solubility product. And we know that solubility is written with a symbol of S and solubility product as KSP, right? So this is something
Yes.
that we need to cover in today's class. Now, before starting with solubility and solubility product, we need to understand few things that where these two terms are basically applicable on. So although solubility is a common term, you can use it for any kind of a salt, but especially when we are talking of equilibrium, we are concerned about those salts which are not so soluble into the water. Okay, what I mean to say is that you have basically two different types of salts, right? On the basis of solubility, if we say, we can just say that we may have two different kinds of salts. Those salts which are highly soluble in water, right? So I can call them as highly soluble salts, and there are some salts which are not so much soluble into the water, right? So just for making it little easier, I have just abbreviated them. So these are not like technical abbreviations, I've just made it abbreviated so that we can use it again and again later on. So you can see SSS, whenever you will see SSS, so it will be for sparingly soluble salt. Now, what are those salts which are always soluble in water without any exception? So all those salts which have nitrate in ion, sodium ion, potassium ion, ammonium ion, rubidium, cesium, so they all are like very ionic and polar in nature. And because of this, you will be seeing that they are always soluble into the water. Talking of sparingly soluble salts, these salts are not so soluble in water, although to some extent they are soluble, but not very soluble. Okay, generally in physical chemistry we call them as sparingly soluble salt, and when we are like studying of inorganic chemistry, there we call them as the insoluble salts, right? So I'm sure that you have already started studying about inorganic physical and organic chemistry separately. Is that so?
Yes.
Yes. So there in inorganic chemistry, generally you call them as either it is soluble or it is insoluble salt. Because in inorganic chemistry, we just talk in the qualitative terms. Okay. We need not to
Yeah.
go under the calculations. So there it is not required. But in physical chemistry, because we need to see the quantitative thing, that is why we are giving it a more precise name and we are calling them as sparingly soluble, mean to say that they are not completely insoluble. There is a small amount of these salts which is capable of dissolving into the water. Is this clear?
Yes.
Okay, so here we have some of the salts like silver chloride, silver bromide, barium sulfate, lead sulfate, zinc sulfide, then silver iodide, all the phosphate salts, then this is your arsenic sulfide, and this is your silver chromate. So these are some of the salts that you can consider as sparingly soluble salt, and many a times in this chapter we will be repeating these salts and we will perform all the calculations on these salts only. So what I just mean to say is that we don't have to do anything with that of the highly soluble salts. In this whole chapter, we will only be talking about sparingly soluble salt. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So solubility and solubility product is a term which is applicable only to sparingly soluble salts. So this is the first thing you will always remember. It is these terms like solubility and solubility product is a term which is only applicable to sparingly soluble salt. It has nothing to do with highly soluble salts. Okay, and why only sparingly soluble salt? Because you know that highly soluble salts are something that will be dissociating completely into the water as soon as they go, right? But sparingly
Yeah.
soluble salt will actually be showing the equilibrium, because only some part of them will be forming ions, and we have already discussed about equilibrium. In equilibrium, basically if we talk of ionic equilibrium, so there are some undissociated particles and there are some dissociated ions, and the equilibrium basically exists in between those, right? Which is
Yes.
only possible in the case of sparingly soluble salt, because in highly soluble salts all of them are in the ionic state, in the dissociated ions, so their equilibrium is not possible, and that is why we are not bothered about the solubility and solubility product over there, because everything is soluble there, right? That is 100% solubility. I hope this point is clear, because this is like at most important, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, still, if I need to ask you, although all three of them are sparingly soluble salts because these are the salts of your silver ions. So, silver chloride, silver bromide, silver iodide, all of them are sparingly soluble salts. But still, if I ask you, you need to make a comparison. Which one is more soluble in water? How can you do that? So, I'm sure you have already studied about Fazan's rule. Have you?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Okay. Still, if you know that how to differentiate a certain salt as more having more ionic character or more covalent character. Can you say that? If these are the three salts in front of you, can you tell me which one should be more ionic in nature, which one should have more covalent character?
No, I never learned that before.
Hmm? Sorry?
I never learned that before.
Okay, never learned that before. Okay, fine. So if you have not studied till now, then I'm sure that you will be studying about it sometimes later. So this is all based on the Fazan's rule. Although it is not important for this topic, but I'm just giving you an extra information that these
Hmm.
all three are sparingly soluble salts. But still, if you want to see which one among them is more soluble in water, then you can go with the Fazan's rule. And Fazan's rule says that in every single molecule, okay, even if it is ionic in nature, if we are saying that a certain salt is ionic in nature, still it consists of some covalent character. And how do you determine this? So basically, if in the salt the size of cation is smaller and the size of anion is larger, then it will be having a higher covalent character. And just tell me one thing, water is a polar solvent. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
And if I need to dissolve something into the water, whether it should have more covalent character or ionic character according to you?
Polar.
Covalent?
To dissolve what?
If I have to dissolve something into the water, let's say if I have to dissolve sodium chloride into the water, whether it
Yeah.
should have more ionic character or it should have more covalent character?
Ionic.
Yes, of course, it should be ionic in nature, right? More
Yeah.
polar or more ionic character the salt have, it will dissolve more easily into the water. Because earlier also I have told you something about like dissolves like. Do you remember? I
Yes.
have told you like dissolves. I think we have discussed about it.
Yeah.
So, if something is polar in nature, water is definitely polar. So, if another thing is also polar in nature, it will be good for them to get solubilized, right? So,
Yeah.
among it, according to Fazan's rule, as I said, covalent character increases if the size of cation decrease and size of anion increase. Here, all the three cations are same. But what about anion? Iodine is, of course, larger than that of bromine, and this is larger than that of chlorine. It means the covalent character is higher for silver iodide. Okay. And in the
Hmm.
another way, we can say that the covalent character for AgCl is quite less in comparison to all both of them. So if covalent character is less, that means ionic character is more. Do you agree with this?
Yeah.
And if ionic character is more, then in comparison to two of these, AgCl is a salt which is more soluble in water, right?
Yeah.
So in this way you can do, although it is not important for this chapter, but yes, this is a super important topic. So yes, you can remember this, and this is known as Fazan's rule. Okay, very very
Hmm.
important. So you can just remember it for your future studies. Okay. Now, like here I have told you which one is more soluble, which one is less soluble, right? As I said,
Hmm.
AgCl is more soluble. But don't you think this data is like very rough? It is very qualitative. It is just telling me about the quality that AgCl is more soluble and AgI is less soluble. So this is just a qualitative discussion. So in inorganic chemistry, we generally talk of some qualitative things only. But if you really want to quantify this, that how much a certain salt is soluble and how much certain salt is not soluble. So for that, you of course need to undergo calculations. And this is what we perform in physical chemistry, or especially in physical chemistry, if we talk of ionic equilibrium, this is what we are going to do here. Now do you understand that
Yeah.
why why we are proceeding towards the quantitative discussion over here? Okay.
Uh-huh.
So now let us start with the main topic, which is your solubility product. Okay, so we will be understanding solubility product. We will be seeing common ion effect and then ionic product. So this will be something that we have to discuss in today's class. So first of all, talking of the solubility product. Okay, so of course it is a product of the solubilities, right? Now how
Uh-huh.
to do this, how to perform this? So first of all, it is only applicable to sparingly soluble salt, right? No
Uh-huh.
confusion. Now,
Yeah.
a sparingly soluble salt, when there is no water, it is of course present in its solid state, right? When
Yeah.
I added water to it, then some of its part, because it is sparingly soluble, it means that it will not dissociate completely. Only some of its part will undergo it will form, it will be dissolved. And if it is being dissolved, so can I write it as salt in the aqueous form? Only some part of it. See, here I have shown the arrow like this. Although it is an equilibrium stage, but it is very small. That means among all these salt which was in the solid form, only some of its part is dissolved into the water, which I have written it like this. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now since this part is soluble into water, so we normally assume that that part of salt which is soluble in water, it is also a good electrolyte. It is just an assumption. Okay, because it is soluble in water, that's why we are making this assumption. And if this is soluble in water, then it means that and it is a good electrolyte, so it should dissociate into its ions like A plus and B minus. Is this right?
Yeah.
Any confusion over here?
No.
But generally, because it looks like very long statement, very long equation, so generally instead of showing the whole thing, we prefer to write it like this. So in many of the books you will just see this one, but the real meaning is this one, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now if I simply ask you that you have this equation and tell me what is the equilibrium constant. So you know that equilibrium constant is the product of the concentrations of your product divided by the product of the concentration of your reactants, right?
Yeah.
So simply I just write it like this. But one more thing we know, that if you have a salt in the solid state, then always its concentration is taken as 1, it is taken as constant, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we have discussed about it. So that
Yeah.
is the reason that why I can take this solid form of salt equal to 1, or I can just consider it as a constant, right? So now, since it is a constant and your K equilibrium, this is also an equilibrium constant. This is what? Equilibrium constant. So both of them are constant values. So may I put them together like
Yeah.
this? So here I have
Yeah.
taken them together. So it is again another constant, which is equal to the product of your product of your product's concentration. And this gave me Ksp equal to the product of my product's concentration. And what are my products? So these are my respective dissociated ions. You just need to be very clear over here that these are just those ions which were being dissociated over here. They are not the complete ions coming from salt solid, because everything was not dissociated. Only some of its part was solubilized, and that is only giving you this much amount of dissociated ions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So this is your KSP, and so this is how you get KSP. Now let us see the definition part. So what is KSP? So it is nothing but the product of the concentration of ions of your solute in its saturated solution. Again, this is an important thing. Don't forget to remember this. Of course, it is the product of concentration of ions, but again there is a condition. It is not just in any kind of a solution. It is that situation when your solution has become saturated. And like in our previous classes, we have already discussed quite in detail what a saturated solution is, right?
Yeah.
So just tell me what a saturated solution will be.
It's a solution that has enough solute dissolved in it that you can't dissolve anymore.
Yes, and now it is not possible to dissolve more amount of them, right? So
Yeah.
this is the situation at which the equilibrium has already achieved. So that is why it is important that you always take a saturated solution. Clear?
Yeah.
So KSP, now there are two things to remember. First of all, KSP is for sparingly soluble salts, and the another thing, it is for sparingly soluble salts only in the saturated condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now see, there are three terms that might sometimes confuse you, so I've given it all here. So one is like K equilibrium, we also write it as Kc. So that is your at equilibrium. This is known as equilibrium constant. So it is the concentration of your product and reactants at equilibrium condition, and we know that this is temperature dependent, right? So it is applicable
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. It is not just restricted to sparingly soluble salts, right? It is applicable to all kinds of reactions which are at equilibrium, not just for sparingly soluble salts. Coming to KSP, KSP is only for sparingly soluble salts and in the saturated solution when your solution has already achieved the equilibrium. Again, it is temperature dependent. And these two terms, K equilibrium and KSP, both of them are constant values. That means they may change with the change in temperature, but will never change with the change in concentration of your ions in the solution. Okay? Never.
Mm-hmm.
Then there will be one another term we will also be discussing about it. This is the K ionic product. Okay, what is this? So this is your constant. It is actually not a constant. So this is basically ionic product which is present at any of the random concentration for the sparingly soluble salt. Okay, these two are for sparingly soluble salts and it is for anything. So ionic product is also for sparingly soluble salts, but at any concentration, it is temperature as well as concentration dependent. So if you change the concentration of your ions, then because it is not a saturated solution, so of course it may have variable amount of concentrations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on concentration as well as temperature, and that's why it is not a constant value. It will vary. If your ions concentration changes, it will also give variation other values. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So this is really important. Just keep on revising them. Again, I am telling you, these two are constants. This is variable. But this is for any kind of a solution in equilibrium. But KSP and KIP are only for sparingly soluble salts. These two are at equilibrium, and this is at any position other than equilibrium. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Yeah.
So this was your KSP. Now coming to the another one, which is your solubility. Now what exactly this solubility is? So according to definition, if you simply see how much is the amount of your solute present in 100 grams of your solution, okay, at in a saturated, of course, because we are talking of solubility, so at in its saturated state at a given temperature, because we know that they are temperature dependent. So temperature has to be fixed, because if you will be increasing or decreasing the temperature, it will also influence the solubility, right? Just now we saw that. Fine. So generally it has
Yeah.
been seen that when you increase the temperature, your solubility also increases. Generally it has been seen. But it is not always true for all the salts. Actually, solubility depends on two different energies. So one is your lattice enthalpy and the another one is your solvation enthalpy. Again, it is not important for this chapter. Just I have given you an extra information. So lattice energy is the amount of energy which is required to break the lattice of your ionic salt, because ionic salts are not just molecules, they are the complete ionic networks, right? So yes,
Yeah.
so if you want to break those lattice, then you need to provide some energy. So that will be an endothermic process. And your solvation energy is that energy as soon as your salt come into the water, how much of energy it releases. So this will be an exothermic process. Okay. So let me just write it over here. This is again not important for this chapter, but yes, this will help you if you understand these concepts. So this is your endothermic process, and your solvation energy is always an exothermic process. So because in one case you are saying that the energy is required, so the value is positive, and in here because it is exothermic, so the value of delta H is negative, right? So these two factors will decide whether the solubility will increase or decrease. Okay, these two factors determine. But let's not go more in detail of this topic. But yes, this is important. Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes. So we saw that solubility is the amount of solute present in 100 gram of solution in a saturated state at a given temperature. But with the period of time, people have changed the definition according to their convenience. So now instead of taking both the solute and solution in gram and gram, there is one another way where you can take solute in grams and solution in liter, or you can take solute in mole and solution in liter. So generally we use grams per liter or moles per liter. So moles per liter is something which is more convenient and more preferred. Okay. So in most of the questions, either you will find grams per liter value or you will find moles per liter. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Now you know that, because here I have told you according to definition, amount of solute present in your certain amount of solution. So this is the amount of solute that is in the dissolved form. So what is that amount of solute? So that is the same thing that your dissociated ion, the concentration of your dissociated ion, because this is something that is being dissolved. I hope you got it, that it is not AB in solid form, it is AB in aqueous form that will decide the concentration of your dissociated ions, because it is a sparingly soluble salt. Everything is not been dissolved. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we can have what is the relationship between solubility and solubility product. Now you have understood solubility, you have understood solubility product. So solubility is just the concentration, and solubility product is the product of the concentration of your dissociated ions. Right. Now what is the relationship between them? So for this you can take different kinds of salt, like you may have AB kind of salt, you may have a salt in which the ions are in 1:2 or 2:1 ratio, like AB2 or A2B. You may have salts in which the ratio is like 1:3 or 3:1, so they will look like this. And those salts which have different kinds of here I have just shown you one of them, like 2:3, but yes, you may have different kinds of salts with different ratios of cations and anions. So here also I have given you some of the examples. Like in AB case, you may have AgCl, AgBr, lead sulfate, barium sulfate, zinc sulfide. For AB2A2B, you may have lead chloride and silver chromate. For AB3A3B, you may have AlCl3. For A2B3, we may have arsenic sulfide, like this. Okay. So how do you basically perform the calculation of KSP for such kind of a salts? This is what we need to see. So this is like pretty simple. Just focus on any one of them and you will get to know how to proceed with the KSP calculation. See, you know that first of all you added a salt which was in the solid form. And what kind of a salt is this? It is a sparingly soluble salt, right? That means only a little amount of it will be dissolved. So here we are showing it as AB in the aqueous form. Since only some amount of it is being dissolved, so only that amount, according to our assumption that it is a good electrolyte, only some of its amount will be dissociated as A plus and B negative ions. Is this right?
Yeah.
Let's consider that the solubility, what was solubility? Solubility was the concentration of your solute in the dissolved form, right, in the saturated solution. So this is your solute in the dissolved form. So we are considering this concentration, let's say, equal to S. Since here we had 1 mole, yes, we can say how many moles are there? It's not clicking. Okay. So here we have how many moles? We have 1 mole. 1 mole of it is giving 1 mole of A plus and 1 mole of B minus. Is this clear?
Yeah.
So if you have, let's say, S concentration which is being dissolved, so that will give you S A plus ions and S B minus ions. right? Now we have discussed KSP is what? The product of the concentration of your products or the dissociated ions. So these are your dissociated ions. So what is their concentration? So that is S and S. So simply this give you S square. So in the case when you have a salt like AB, your KSP value will be equal to S square, right?
Yeah.
So this is the relation between solubility and solubility product. Now see, AB, this is simply a trick that you need not to do all this calculation. If you have such kind of a molecule, simply for A it will be S, for B it will be S, so S square it will be equal to the KSP. So in this way also, this is a short method that you can basically apply, and if you anytime find confusing, then you may go with the whole process. Now in the same pattern, exactly in the same pattern, you have to proceed with the salts which have AB2 or A2B kind of structure. Again the same thing, you have, let's say, A2B type of salt, so some of it will be dissociated. Here you may use actually the equilibrium sign. So some of it will be dissolved. Okay, that dissolved part only is going to give the dissociated ions. So when, let's say that the solubility is S, so this is your concentration of salt which is being dissolved. So in that case, because we can see that 1 mole of it is giving 2 moles of A plus and 1 mole of B2 minus, right?
Yeah.
So my solubility will be like in the same way, in the corresponding way. If the concentration of the dissolved ions is S, let's say for A to B, then there will be 2S dissociated ions of A plus and S dissociated ion for B2 minus, right? Similarly, just take the calculation. KSP is what? The product of the concentration of your dissociated ions. So this will be like this. Just put down the values and you will get this answer. So if you have salts like AB2, A2B, your KSP will be equal to 4S cube. Okay? And here you have got this. Is this right?
Yeah.
So what is the trick basically? So if you have A to B, so just see, because the solubility for A, because it will be dissociated into 2 ions, so solubility will be 2S with the square into S, so this will give you 4S cube. And similarly, if you have AB2 molecule, then also you will be getting the same equation, KSP equal to 4S cube. Any confusion about it?
No.
Okay, very good. So in the same way, let us proceed with the third case, just the same way. Okay, nothing to worry about. So if you have a salt like this AB3 or A3B type, again the same thing, AB3 you added as solid, then you added water to it, only some amount of it get dissolved into the aqueous form, and that dissolved part, according to our assumption being a good electrolyte, dissociate into its ions as A3 plus and 3 moles of B negative. So let us say that if solubility is S, again what was solubility? Solubility is the concentration of your dissolved ions, dissolved part of salt. So let's say that if this is S is the concentration of the dissolved part of the salt, so this will be giving S respective ions of A3 plus and 3S concentration of B minus, right? Just put down the values on the KSP. So KSP is again the product of your dissociated ions concentration, which we will be writing like this, because we have 3 moles, so that's why we have taken 3 over here, just in the same way as you calculate in the case of K equilibrium. Okay, and for A3 plus the solubility is S, for B minus it is 3S to the power 3. So if you make calculation, you will get this equation for the salts with such kind of a formula. And according to the trick, if it is A3B, so there should be 3S to the power 3 multiplied by S. So this will give you 227S to the power 4. Okay. And this is the last case that I have taken. So actually, okay, let's do it. Although it is again in the same way, you may just try it later on by yourself as well. If you have a salt like A2B3, so again A2,3B in the solid form When it dissociated, it forms A2B3 in aqueous form. Then it dissociated into its respective ion as 2A3 plus and 3B2 minus. So let's say that the concentration of the salt that was being dissolved, so if it was S, that means its solubility, so it will be giving respective 2S A3 plus ions and 3S B2 minus ions. Just put down the values in the KSP equation and finally you will get 108 S to the power 5. So this will be your general relation between S and KSP in the case of A2B3 kind of salts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any doubt you have?
No.
Okay, so I'm just giving this you as a homework. You can perform it. Let's say that if you have A2B5 kind of a salt, okay, so what would be the relationship between KSP and solubility? Okay, I hope now you can perform this. Just follow the same pattern. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is a homework to you and just try to do this. So here I have just compiled the whole thing for 4 different types. For 1:1, when you had salt like AB kind of, so this was your KSP value. If you have AB2, A2B type of salt, so this will be your KSP value. Similarly for A3B or AB3, it will be your KSP value, and A2B3, it will be your KSP value. And again here you have to write for 2:5. Okay, so you will be writing for 2:5. So this is your homework and just tell me after this class that what KSP value and its relation with solubility you got. Anything
Okay.
you would like to ask from here?
No.
Okay, good. So here we have a question. Okay, and this is a really good question. So they have given you 3 different sparingly soluble salts and have provided you KSP values. Okay, so these are your 3 salts, these are their KSP values, and you are being asked to arrange them in the order of their solubilities. Okay, so now you know that how do you calculate solubility from KSP. Don't just directly see the KSP values, it may give you wrong answers. Okay, because if you see this value, what you find is that the KSP is highest for MX salt, then for MX2, because it is -8, it is -14, it is -15. So it is highest for MX, then for MX2, and then for M3X, right? But
Yeah.
they are asking you the order of solubility and not KSP. So don't ever do this mistake. This might give you wrong answer. Don't just see KSP values and give the value for solubility. No, it's a wrong practice. Always make calculation. So now since we know that it is a MX type of salt, so it should have KSP equal to S square, right?
Yeah.
Just now we saw this thing. So from here, and already you are being given KSP value, which is 4 into 10 to the power -8. So from there, by making calculation, you can easily calculate S, right? So S will be your under root of KSP, and just put down the value of KSP and you will get your answer as 2 into 10 to the power -4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Similarly for MX2, if you see what was the KSP value, just see the picture. So for MX2 kind of molecule, the KSP was 4S3, right? So on the basis of this, KSP is already given to you. You just need to calculate S. So just I have done it directly. So S will be the cube root of KSP by 4. Okay, just put the value of your KSP. So KSP value here they have given 3.2 into 10 to the power -14. Just do this calculation and finally you will get the answer 2 into 10 to the power -5. Similarly, if you have a salt like M3X, so KSP there it was equal to 27 S to the power 4. Do you remember?
Yeah.
27 S to the power 4. So again KSP is with you, just calculate it for S. Okay, so here I have written it like this. So at S will be so here we have to take the root of 4 of KSP divided by 27, and in this way you will get the answer 1 into 10 to the power -4. So now just make the comparison which one is the highest. So this is 2 into 10 to the power minus 4. This is 1 into 10 to the power minus 4. That means the highest solubility is for mx. Then it is not for mx2. It is for m3x. And finally mx2. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So in this way, like this is a really good question, because sometimes what we do is that we just take the KSP values and we just thought that, okay, if KSP is higher, then S should also be higher. No, it is not always the case. There might be minor changes. So always perform in this way, and with this you will get the order of your solubility. Again, you have another question. Again, this is a good question. Okay, so let's say that PbCl2, lead chloride you are being given. So it is what kind of a salt? What type of? Ab2.
Sparingly soluble.
Sorry.
Sparingly soluble.
Yes, it is again a sparingly soluble salt of Ab2 type, right? And you have taken a certain specific temperature, because we know that specific temperature is required, and also the solution should be saturated when we are talking of solubility. So they have given you solubility for this salt equal to 0.279 grams per liter, and you are being asked to find out KSP, right? So now this is simple thing. You know that it is a Ab2 type of salt, so for this the KSP should be 4s cube, right? This should be the value. So simply what you can do, you can just put this value and can find out KSP. But remember one thing I told you, nowadays mostly you use moles per liter instead of grams per liter. Okay, so this is a common practice. So you need to convert first this into moles per liter. Okay, sometimes in the question they are also been, it is also been written over there that in which unit you want to find it out, but generally we use in moles per liter. So just convert this grams per liter into moles per liter, and I think this is simple, because you know that number of moles is equal to your you know this formula, right? Number of moles is equal to the weight of solute divided by the molar mass, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So weight is already been given to you. This is 0.279 grams per mole, and if I divide this with that of molar mass, I will get this value in terms of moles, right? So my this value 0.279, if I divide this with 279, why 279? Because 279, if you calculate, this is the molar mass of your lead chloride. Okay, so you can just do it by your side as well. So if you just divide it, so you will get this value. Now this is grams per liter is converted into moles per liter. Now everything is simple. Just put the values over here. So this is KSP was 4s cube. So this will be 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 with the power of 3, and you will get the answer as 4 into 10 to the power minus 9 mole cube per liter cube. Again, this is important. If someone asks you what is the unit of KSP, so unit of KSP basically depends on your solubility. Whatever is the formula of KSP, or whatever is the relationship of KSP with that of solubility, that will decide the unit of solubility product. Because here solubility is in moles per liter, right? And you have 3 times of this solubility. So that's why your KSP will be mole cube by liter cube. Any confusion? Hello?
Yeah.
Any confusion about this? About the unit?
No. No.
Okay. Very good. So now comes the another important topic, which is your common ion effect. Okay, so I told you that till now we were just talking about the sparingly soluble salts. So this was the equation. You had a salt, then some of it dissolved, because it is sparingly soluble salt, so not completely it will be dissolved, only some of its part will be dissolved, and only that some of its part will be further dissociated into its respective ions as A plus and B minus. So this was the whole thing that we were studying till now. But what happens if I just add some amount of highly soluble salt to it, which has a common ion with that of sparingly soluble salt? Let's say if I add AX type of a salt in this particular solution, and let's consider this AX is a highly soluble salt, then in that case what is going to be the effect of common ion on your S and KSP? This is what we need to see. Okay, since it is a highly soluble salt, don't you think it will 100% dissociated into A plus and X minus? Yes,
Yes.
it will completely dissociate. That's why I have not written any equilibrium sign here. It is completely, whatever moles of AX you take, it will get converted into its dissociated ions. But later on, the final picture is that we have extra A plus ions in the solution. Then we have same amount of B negative ions and X negative ions. So we need to see what happens to the solubility and KSP of this sparingly soluble salt when some another highly soluble salt is being added with a common ion. Okay, this is what we need to see here. What is the effect we will be seeing? So we know that generally equilibrium is the situation of the relaxed state. That means in this state the solution want to be at a very comfortable situation. It is in the balanced state. But as soon as the common ion effect comes, as soon as you add a common ion, your equilibrium is going to be disturbed. It is disturbed. And according to Le-Chatelier's principle, tell me where this reaction should go, in the forward direction or in the backward direction after this addition. Tell me.
Backwards.
In the
Backwards.
backward direction, because we know that the concentration of your product is increasing. It was supposed to be only this much, but now additionally A plus ions are coming, so that's why the concentration of product is increasing. And if it is increasing, so that means in order to compensate this extra increase, the reaction has to move in the backward direction, right? And this is all according to Le-Chatelier's principle. So we can say that as per the Le-Chatelier's principle, the reaction should move in the left hand direction, or we can say that the reaction will start moving in the backward direction. Now just tell me one thing. When it was moving in the forward direction, then it was promoting more dissolution or more dissociation or more solubility. It was been like promoting. But since it has started gone back to the left hand side in the backward direction, so don't you think it is moving from more solubility portion to lesser solubility portion?
Yeah.
Yes, because dissociated ions means more solubility,
Yeah.
but due to common ion effect the reaction is going back in the left hand direction, so it means that the solubility is decreasing. Can we say that?
Yeah.
So what I mean to tell you is that because of the common ion effect, for sparingly soluble salt, the solubility and K or simply solubility decreases, right? This is super important point. So you will be seeing due to common ion effect, your solubility of sparingly soluble salt will always decrease. So this is the effect of common ion on solubility and KSP of a sparingly soluble salt. Okay, and when this happened, when we added certain amount of highly soluble salt to that of sparingly soluble salt, and they must have a common ion with each other, then only it is possible. If there is no common ion, then there is no point, right? Then we saw that equilibrium will shift to the left hand direction and solubility will decrease. This is super important thing. Okay, so now here we have another question based on this. So find the solubility of barium sulfate. KSP has been given to you. First of all, you have to see this in water and then with the common ion. So here you have given another solution of barium nitrate. So definitely we know, without even doing calculation, we know that because here, in which case common ion effect has been taking place, tell me, in the first or second?
Second.
In the second one, of course, because we have a common ion. What is the common ion? Which one is the common ion? See this salt, see this salt.
Barium.
Barium, of course. Okay, so in the first case, you will get the normal solubility, but in the second case, you will get the decreased solubility. Just now we have discussed about it. Due to common ion
Yeah.
effect, solubility of salt or solubility of sparingly soluble salt always decreases. So definitely my 2 should be lesser than that of 1, right? In terms of solubility. And if you are getting reverse answer, that means that you have made certain calculation mistake. Okay, now let us see how to proceed. Just a simple thing. For water, it is not any way difficult. You have barium sulfate, then some of it dissolved, so it is in the aqueous form. Then whatever is the concentration in the dissolved form of this salt, it will dissociate into barium 2 plus ions and sulfate 2 minus ions. Let's say if the solubility is S concentration, so you will get S concentration of barium 2 plus and S concentration of sulfate ions. So how do you calculate KSP? So KSP is the product of the concentration of your dissociated ions. So just put down the concentration values, which is S and S. So you will get S square. KSP has already been given to you for barium sulfate. So just put 10 to the power minus 4 equal to S square and you will get the value of S for barium sulfate in water. Now there is no common ion. It is simply your barium sulfate. So S is equal to 10 to the power minus 2 moles per liter. Is this correct? Okay, now we have to see for the another situation where the common ion effect has also been participating. Okay, so this is the situation. Your salt, this is your sparingly soluble salt. With, before addition of common ion, it dissociated in like this: barium plus ions and barium 2 plus ions and sulfate 2 minus ions. But we also added a highly soluble salt like barium nitrate to it, which has a concentration of 0.2. Since it is a highly soluble salt, all of it will dissociate into barium ions and nitrate ions. So there will be 0.2 concentration of barium ions and 2 into 0.2, that is 0.4 concentration of nitrate ions. Although we are not bothered about nitrate ions at all, because we have to just see solubility and KSP for our sparingly soluble salt, right? Because we have to see the effect of a common ion on the sparingly soluble salt only. So we just added this one. So now what is the final situation? If you just see this whole thing as the last picture, then you find that the barium ion concentration is increased a little bit by 0.2. So if your barium sulfate solubility was S concentration, then your barium 2 plus ion concentration in the final picture is not just S, it is S plus 0.2, and this 0.2 is basically coming from your highly soluble salt, and sulfate is still S because there is no one for sulfate, right? So now how do you calculate KSP? Again, the product of the concentration of your dissociated ions. So for barium 2 plus, it is S plus 0.2, and for sulfate, it is simply S. And KSP is still 10 to the power minus 4 because I told you KSP is always a constant value. It does not change with concentration. It only changes with temperature, and temperature is still the same, right? So don't worry about it. KSP value is still the same for barium sulfate because only the concentration is changing, and it does not depend on concentration. We talked about it. Now here you have to make a little assumption so as to simplify your calculation. You have S and you have 0.2. As I told you, S is the concentration of the dissociated ions of sparingly soluble salt. Since it is sparingly soluble, do you think that the dissociation, because already this concentration is quite less because it is sparingly soluble, so it will dissociate it into less amount of respective ions as well. Do you agree with this? But this was a highly soluble salt. Whatever it had, it completely dissociated into respective ions. So definitely we can say that in comparison to 0.2, your S is going to be quite very less. Very, very less. It might have values like 10 to the power minus 4, 10 to the power minus 10 sometimes. So if you just add 0.2 with that of 10 to the power minus 4, let's say, then of course you can say that you can just ignore that 10 to the power minus 4 because it is a very small value, right? So that is why we just make an assumption that since our S is very, very, very less than that of 0.2. So instead of writing S plus 0.2, we can simply write 0.2 and ignore the presence of S. So this will make my equation as 0.2 and this S. Now simply just make the calculation 10 to the power minus 4 divided by 0.2. This will give you S. I've just written it as S dash just to differentiate between first answer and second answer. But that's not a different thing. You just make a calculation and you will get the value 5 into 10 to the power minus 4. Okay. Now let's make a comparison between the first answer and the second answer. In the first answer, there was no common ion effect. That time solubility was 10 to the power minus 2. But when there is a common ion effect due to addition of barium nitrate, then it became almost 10 to the power minus 4. So of course we can see solubility is decreased, right? So with this we can conclude, due to common ion effect, solubility decreases for a sparingly soluble salt, right?
Yeah.
Now there is another question. May I give you this as the homework? Exactly in the same way you have to perform. Okay, this time your salt is like silver chromate. KSP has been given to you and you are being given 0.1 molar AgNO3 which is being added. I told you all the nitrate salts are highly soluble salts. So with this you can see that this will create a common ion effect. Just do the same pattern, same kind of a thing, and find out the value of S. Okay. So you may take this as your homework. Just try to do this and you may also see the solution I have provided you. Clear?
Yeah.
Now let us move on to the last topic for today, which is ionic product and precipitation. What did I tell you about ionic product? That ionic product is always calculated for sparingly soluble salts, but at any concentration besides equilibrium or besides saturation state. Do you remember? Where I made a comparison between KIP, K equilibrium and KSP. There I told you this thing, right?
Yeah.
So again, take the same kind of a thing because your salt is a sparingly soluble salt. So all of them will not be dissolved. Only some amount of it will be dissolved. And whatever that amount is being dissolved, it will further dissociate into A plus and B minus ion. But this time I am considering this at any concentration and not just on the equilibrium state. At any concentration. So because we are seeing it at any concentration, so we can say that KIP is a variable because as the concentration changes, even it is higher than that of equilibrium concentration or lower than that of equilibrium concentration, it will be having different values. So it's a variable. It depends on temperature as well as on concentration. This is important, super important. Okay. And of course, it is not for saturated solution because it is KIP you are calculating other than saturated solution. Of course, you can calculate for saturated solution as well, but it is especially for other states other than that of saturated solution. And if you will be calculating it for saturated solution, then it would be KSP only, right? Fine. So again, you may have three different conditions. One is that your KIP, because it is at any concentration, and KSP is at saturated concentration. So there is a possibility that your KIP is lesser than that of KSP. What happens? See, just try to understand. This is at equilibrium. KSP is at equilibrium or at saturation, and it is at any concentration. So if this value is lesser than that of your saturated state, so what we can see that saturation is still not achieved. It means that your salt has further chances that it can solubilize a lot more, right? So that it can reach up to saturated state. It means there is more possibility for it to get dissolved. Can we say that?
Yeah.
So it means that it will promote solubility. If your KIP is lesser than that of KSP, it will increase the solubility. More of the amount of your solute will be able to dissolve. Okay, so this will increase the solubility. Clear? Then another situation could be if your KIP is equal to KSP. So of course that is the saturated state only. Only at that time your KIP could be equal to KSP. And if it is a saturated solution, then you know how to calculate KSP and everything. We have talked a lot about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the third thing is that if your ionic product is greater than that of your KSP, so it means that you have more dissolved dissociated ions present in the solution, which were actually required so as to get the equilibrium. You have more dissolved ions. Like if you see your common ion effect, so we saw that in common ion effect solubility decreases because you have extra ions present in the soluble state. Okay, but let's say if they are even higher than that of the equilibrium state, then what will happen? Because everything I told you, equilibrium is the relaxed state. So every salt, every sparingly soluble salts want to achieve this equilibrium state. So in order to get this equilibrium, they will start losing their solubility, they will start precipitating so that they can form, they can reach up to the equilibrium state. So instead of dissolving more, they will start precipitating out, right? Or they will start their reaction to proceed in backward direction, more towards AB aqueous or AB solid, sorry. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Yes, this is really important. So this will increase. In this case, more salt can be dissolved, means solubility will increase. And in this case, if KIP is greater than KSP, precipitation will increase and solubility will decrease. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So this is a question now. So if you have been able to do this, then everything would be good. So you are being given that in which of the following precipitation of calcium fluoride will occur. So you are being given the value of KSP. Okay, so you don't have to worry about KSP. Only thing you have to see whether precipitation will occur or not. And just now I
Mm-hmm.
told you that in order for the precipitation to occur, your KIP should be greater than that of KSP, right? So
Yeah.
just make the calculation in all the four cases. In whatever case your KIP is higher than that of KSP, in that case precipitation will be preferred. Otherwise solubility, more dissolution will be preferred. So let us try to see. So again, what kind of a salt is this? This is AB2 type of salt. So its KSP will be 4s cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now what is your S over here? So for first S is coming from calcium ion, so this is 10 to the power minus 4. Okay, and why I have written it as, see here, in all case I have written it as 2 into 10 to the power minus 4, because we know that this will dissociate it into what kind of ions? It will dissociate it as calcium 2 plus ions, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then what is 2F minus ions, right? So
Yeah.
if this is like 10 to the power minus 4, they have given you the concentrations already. So if it is 10 to the power minus 4 and this is 10 to the power minus 4, but also multiply this with that of 2, okay, and then with the
Mm-hmm.
whole square. So this will give you your KSP values. Any confusion?
No.
Right. So KSP will be 4 into 10 to the power minus 12 in this case after calculation. And in second case, again the same thing, 10 to the power minus 3 multiplied by 10 to the power minus 5 into 2 to the whole square. So this will give you this value. Similarly for third case and similarly for fourth case, you can just try it once by yourself. So these are the four values you have got. Now just focus on your KSP. It was 1.7 into 10 to the power minus 10. Let us just focus on 10 to the power minus 10. So in order to get precipitate, your KIP should be higher than that of KSP, right? This is 10 to the power
Mm-hmm.
minus 10. This is 10 to the power minus 12, 10 to the power minus 13, 10 to the power minus 11. All three of them are lesser than that of KSP value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will promote to be like more soluble. They will promote more solubility. But in this case, this is 10 to the power minus of 8. It means that its value is higher than that of KSP, which was the condition for precipitation. And that is why in this case, this will be your answer. C will be your answer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in this way you can like proceed. And finally, this is a question. Again, this is a homework to you. So I have given you two homeworks. So this question and a question earlier. So here I have not provided the solution for this question, but let me explain you what the question is. It is zinc sulfide. Okay. And you are being given the solubility value without common ion effect, which is being 0.97 grams per liter. So first of all, you will convert this into moles per liter. Okay. So this is the first thing you have to do. Then after that, you have to see what effect it has on its solubility when common ion effect comes into the picture. So for that, you added 2 moles of zinc nitrate in 5 liter of solution. Okay, so this is
Mm-hmm.
what been given. So this is moles and this is liter. So what you will be doing, first of all, you will convert this into molarity, right?
Yeah.
Just convert this into the molar solution. So this will give you the molar concentration. Now just proceed in the same way as we have done it for the earlier cases, and just finally find the solubility of zinc sulfide. I hope you understood the question.
Yeah.
Okay, and among these four, one should be the answer. Just you can tell me anytime after this class. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything that you want me to repeat, or something that you have not understood?
No.
I hope it was clear, and we have completed all the topics like solubility, solubility product, common ion effect, ionic product, precipitation, all such kind of a thing. So this is the whole topic. You won't find anything other than this, according to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is all for today's class. We will meet soon. Fine. Anytime you can
Yeah.
ask me a question if you find any difficulty.
Okay.
And that's all. Take care. Goodbye.
You too.
Okay, bye.